Welcome to another edition of Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News. Once again, I'm doing a variety of different character voices until someone complains. Here's the lineup for this week. The news, of course, Community Bulletin Board, and 55 Plus News. We also finally have a report on the County Board's first virtual town hall meeting in 6 weeks. That's the show. Now here's the social media reminder. You can watch us on YouTube at Arlington Weekly News and the number 1, also on Facebook, and you can listen to us on the radio at WERA 96.7 FM. Now, on to the news.
As of Sunday evening, September 20th, reports show that the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Arlington had exceeded 3,800. Regular viewers and listeners will note the continuing increase in the reported numbers. Also, on July 31st of this year, the Arlington County Board enacted a special ordinance to encourage social distancing in areas outside of bars and restaurants in certain locations. The signage notifying citizens of the ordinance was posted a couple of weeks later. At the County Board's recessed meeting on September 15th, however, Board member Christian Dorsey stated, and we quote, "Arlington police have determined that it is impractical to cite hundreds of violators a night. They have prioritized encouraging compliance and have not issued a single citation. I don't see any reason to continue having something on the books that clearly doesn't work." End quote. The Arlington County Board then voted to allow the emergency sidewalk distancing ordinance that it had adopted on July 31st to lapse on September 29th. The ordinance, which is still in force, requires pedestrians on posted sidewalks and streets to maintain at least 6 feet of physical distance from others, and prohibits groups of more than 3 people from congregating on streets and sidewalks posted within the restrictions. The board had enacted the emergency ordinance to help slow the spread of COVID-19 virus in Arlington by keeping large groups of people from gathering without appropriate distancing on certain public sidewalks and streets. Violators could face a fine of up to $100.
We feel compelled to editorialize about this news. Based on Mr. Dorsey's reference to the information he received from police, the absence of a single citation because it was deemed impractical to cite hundreds of violators a night suggests a lack of enforcement of the ordinance despite hundreds of abuses. If the goal was to stop the violations, then the obvious solution would have been to start issuing the citations after perhaps a week or 2 of education. The apparent result of the absence of any citations is the disregard by hundreds of attendees who continue to add to Arlington's COVID cases. The philosophy of this kind of abandonment could logically be extended to the removal of stop signs and speed limit signs in the absence of enforcement. We maintain that those in charge, along with those non-compliant citizens, have abdicated their responsibility with respect to public health.
Elsewhere, it was 1:57 p.m. on Thursday, September 17th, that an email went out from the Arlington County government informing us that there would finally be another virtual town hall meeting the very next day at 12:30 p.m. That constituted advance notice of less than 23 hours, even assuming that interested residents were continuously monitoring their emails. The last town hall meeting had taken place on August 7th. This constitutes a gap of 6 weeks. Also, the Arlington County government issued the following message via email on Wednesday, September 16th, and we quote, "Arlington County is taking the first steps toward changing the county logo and seal through a community-wide process that will also consider changing the names of places and facilities belonging to the county. The process will begin this fall with educational presentations, recommended reading, and community discussions around Arlington's history. The renaming process will be one aspect of the county's work to advance racial equity that seeks, among other things, to normalize community conversations around issues of race and equity in Arlington in partnership with challenging racism. It will also build on this fall's community process to update the county's historic preservation master plan. The renaming process would get underway in early 2021. End quote. The renaming process may be complicated, especially if it applies to street names and therefore addresses of both homes and businesses. The last time street renaming occurred was in 1934. A trip to the Virginia Map Room a few years ago had already revealed some examples. In Alcova Heights, 7th Street South had previously been Alcova Avenue. 8th Street South had previously been Marconi Avenue. 9th Street South had previously been Deepwood Avenue. The upcoming renaming process is apt to be much less extensive. Numbered streets are likely to be left alone unless someone starts counting constitutional amendments. The named streets will present the challenge. Some of it will depend on how people who predated and postdated the Civil War are regarded. For example, legitimate complaints about Woodrow Wilson's discriminatory policies could suggest the renaming of Wilson Boulevard. Considering only Confederate names, the list might include Jackson Avenue. There were 6 Confederate generals with that last name. Johnson Lane. There were 4 Confederate generals with that last name. Lee Avenue. That's in addition to the soon-to-be renamed Lee Highway. That's the news with the dash of commentary. Now it's time for Community Bulletin Board, or CBB.
Hi, and welcome to CBB. You can learn how to perform an effective career search by attending the Arlington Employment Center's Career Search Seminars. Each seminar focuses on a different topic related to the career search. Come for one day or stay for them all. Seminars are held virtually on Mondays and Wednesdays from 12 noon to 1 p.m. You can register to receive the link on Zoom. Space is limited and participants must register in advance. Participants will receive the Zoom link via email 30 minutes before the session begins. Registration is required. You can register on the Arlington Employment Center's website, which is https://sign-up-genius.com/go/career search seminars. This event is a partnership between Arlington Public Library and the Arlington Employment Center. The Arlington Employment Center offers job seeker services, including skill development, resume writing, and job search assistance. The next session is on Wednesday, September 30th, again 12 noon to 1 p.m. Next up, poetry can cultivate an appreciation and understanding of the world, encourage healing and personal growth, and inspire creativity. You can learn more about this art form, whether you're experienced or a novice. Arlington Poet Laureate and Marymount Professor of Literature and Languages, Dr. Hari Karapetkova will broaden your understanding of poetry. The registration number is 911-300-01, and the next session is coming up on Wednesday, September 30th from 11 o'clock a.m. to 12 noon. For registration assistance, just email registration@arlingtonva.us or call 703-228-4747. Now here's something for kids aged 6 to 11. It's called Fall Flower Power. They can explore what's blooming when fall is just around the corner. They'll learn all about important fall flowers and the insects and animals that depend on them. There will be games, crafts, and a short hike. For information, you can call 703-228-3403. You can also register online or call 703-228-4747. Just reference activity number 612820-E. That's coming up on Wednesday, September 30th from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. at Gulf Branch Nature Center and Park, 3608 North Military Road. Finally, in CBB, there's something called Park in the Dark, Nocturnal Senses Night Hike. It's for families with kids aged 6 and up. You'll want to register both children and adults because children have to be accompanied by a registered adult. Come experience the forest at night like nocturnal animals. You'll hike the trails doing sense experiments to help find your way in the dark. For information, call 703-228-6535. Registration is required, but you can register online or call 703-228-4747 and mention activity number 612950-R. That's on Friday, October 2nd from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. at Long Branch Nature Center at Glen Carlin Park, 625 South Carlin Springs Road. Now it's time for 55 Plus News.
Howdy. Well, here's a chance to stay active with friendly walking companions. You can explore Arlington walking trails in a safe, socially distant manner. Now, this week's walk is at Green Valley. Registration is required, and those who register will receive specific instructions and meeting location details the day prior to the walk. The registration number is 911109-08. And for registration assistance, you can email registration@arlingtonva.us or call 703-228-4747. That's coming up on Wednesday, September 30th from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. in Green Valley at 2000 to 2032 on VA 120, which is also known as South Glebe Road. Next up, there are 55 plus bike rides that are friendly and feature scenic views along the Potomac River. This one, they're going to explore Old Town Alexandria. The pace is casual and there will be time for socializing. It's the journey, they say, as well as the destination. No one will get left behind. They'll regroup several times to make sure everyone catches up. You can register online or call 703-228-4747. Activity number is 782001-03. And it's coming up on Wednesday, September 30th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon at the Columbia Island Marina parking lot on the George Washington Memorial Parkway. Next up, the National Press Club has something called History Meets the News. Gil Klein, a journalist and former NPC president, will discuss his new book, which is called Tales from the National Press Club. You can RSVP to Sheila Butoff. Her email address is sbudoff@arlingtonva.us, and you can get a meeting link before the program. The registration number is 911-400-05, and you can always email registration@arlingtonva.us or call 703-228-4747. That's on Wednesday, September 30th from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Last up, it's all about smart homes. They say we have the capability of using technology in our houses to control lights, lock doors, play music, and answer questions. Nick Anglin, the tech guru, will present an overview of home automation devices such as Amazon Alexa and Google Home. The registration number is 911-403-15, and you can still email registration@arlingtonva.us or call 703-228-4747. That's also on Wednesday, September 30th from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m. That's it for 55 Plus News. Now let's check out that town hall meeting.
The Arlington County Board held another virtual town hall meeting at 12:30 p.m. on Friday, September 18th. Participants included Libby Garvey, Christian Dorsey, Deputy County Manager Jim Schwartz, Dr. Aaron Miller, Library Superintendent Diane Kresh, and Dr. Ruben Varghese. Libby Garvey opened with a few observations. The positivity rate for COVID in the county is still running between 4 and 5%, and community spread is still observed. New testing capability includes expanded hours at Arlington Mill and some pop-up testing events that took place at Buckingham and Green Valley, with a total of 230 people tested. Sadly, the lack of town hall announcements probably resulted in lower results. There were some comments about rolling back the physical distancing ordinance and trying instead for education. They are going to try to continue outdoor dining in colder weather. Libby Garvey added that she personally is staying in Phase 1. She made a trip to Maine, but had to get a test. She flew with a mask and a face shield. Christian Dorsey came in next, noted that after 190 days his family was doing fine, with school more or less started, the kids resilient, and still following safer-at-home guidance. But he also acknowledged those workers who could not stay at home. Libby Garvey also acknowledged the volunteers. Next up was Dr. Ruben Varghese. He reported that although Arlington still has community spread, they are doing better than some other places in Virginia. They still have cases coming up, and vulnerable populations have a higher positivity rate than the 3 to 5%. There is a long way to go. One problem is that the rest of the area and the rest of the nation has to catch up. The next question was about face masks and the recommendation for 2 layers of fabric. Dr. Varghese said that Arlington links to the CDC page, which already advises 2 and 3 plies to their face coverings. They advise against vents because they allow the escape of germs, and that neck gaiters are not so effective as masks. The 6-foot distance is still recommended. Diane Kresh from the Arlington County Library came on next. She noted that the library staff had been sent on many different assignments, including hunger prevention, answering phones for the county, helping the public school students get back to school, doing public service announcements, managing a help desk. They also delivered over 250,000 books since their reopening in mid-June. She did point out that books themselves have to be quarantined for 72 hours after they're returned. As for ebooks, the circulation is approaching 1 million, which is close to double the normal amount. Branch-by-branch considerations will involve safety and sustainability. She noted that other jurisdictions have their own views, and that Fairfax and Alexandria are still not really fully open. The next question was about TOSA, Temporary Outdoor Seating Arrangement, enforcement. Dr. Ruben Varghese noted that they do follow through on complaints, but primarily try to educate. They have additional hires who report during nights and weekends. They do have suspension authority, but the goal is voluntary compliance. Another question about the sidewalk ordinance lapsing. Christian Dorsey noted a lack of resources and a fear of citizen resistance. They found that compliance was only temporary. Libby Garvey noted that the county board is exploring other options to encourage social distancing. Another question was, why are bars and restaurants open when schools aren't? Dr. Varghese fielded that one. He said the governor's executive orders have limitations and that he holds that commerce is a different consideration than education. It's been shown that 6-foot distancing is hard enough to enforce with adults, let alone children. Also, the schools are independent and they make their own decisions. Dr. Varghese can offer options, but he has to leave the ultimate decisions to others. Christian Dorsey noted that Arlington County schools were getting support from county partnership with Comcast, also Wi-Fi hotspots and Wi-Fi blasters. Still, there are limitations within individual homes based on the layout. Alternate locations must be safe and supervised. Some school facilities and staff will be needed. It's an ongoing process, with licensing and bureaucracy interfering. Libby Garvey summed it up by saying, "We're pretty much trying everything." Diane Crash noted that the libraries are adding more Wi-Fi hotspots with other groups as well, also helping with training on how to use this equipment. As for testing, the question was fielded by Dr. Aaron Miller. He noted that the lack of a national strategy is still a hindrance. State guidance is what's used in Arlington. Physician referral is one of those requirements. Exceptions are allowed for hospitals and nursing homes and community testing events, which are the pop-ups they referred to. Recommended methods for getting tested include consultation with your primary care physician, also telehealth or a free clinic. One important thing is the help that people can get if they get a positive test. There's a website that has a listing of testing facilities, notably including Preston's Pharmacy on Lee Highway. Dr. Ruben Varghese noted that there are home tests also available via LabCorp. Now, insurance coverage is not guaranteed. If you're looking for a free test, that will be harder to come by. Libby Garvey mentioned a question about turnaround time. Dr. Ruben Varghese said, a 15-minute minimum turnaround for tests, but the norm is 3 to 5 days, although even that is still variable. The key is to self-quarantine until the results arrive. Libby Garvey noted that Arlington is still largely on their own for working out how to handle testing. Dr. Varghese reminded everyone that Arlington is culturally different from some other places in the world, and that germs don't respect geographic borders, so visitors can always still bring in the virus. Christian Dorsey fielded a question about rapid tests for school reopening. Dr. Varghese pointed out that rapid testing is not the only decision lever, and the schools make the decision. Other factors include staffing, cleaning, maintenance, and the possibility of other diseases. Testing is a tool, but it's not the actual solution. He also noted that when the schools were built, they weren't designed for 6-foot distancing, and that the crisis keeps evolving. As for antibody testing, Dr. Varghese noted that that only indicates prior exposure. Detection of the actual virus is still preferable, and there is still no evidence of lifelong immunity after a single infection. Reinfection is still believed to be possible. On a different note, voting became possible at 2200 Clarendon Boulevard at the time of the meeting. Satellite locations will start on October 17th. Drop boxes are available at the Courthouse Plaza. Also, there's a website, vote.arlingtonva.us, which can be consulted for additional information. Libby Garvey said she's waiting to receive her absentee ballot via the mail, and then she's going to take that to the drop box. A different question came up, observing that the automated pedestrian signals don't seem to work well. The county board said they will review that situation with environmental services. Another question was about the taxes coming due. The board will look at ways to ease that burden. Jim Schwartz fielded a question about multiple dwelling units. He noted that the building management sometimes only partly complies. They support their staff, but not their residents. Sadly, there are limits, he said, to what the county can do. He's going to try to improve public messaging. Toward the end, the question of budget shortfalls came up. Libby Garvey pointed out that they are not responsible for the school opening problems. Christian Dorsey noted that there are challenges coming with the budget shortfalls, but they're not presently a factor. County park space for education is being considered, along with the Gateway Park in Roslyn, which may also be available for office work. A question came up about Halloween. Dr. Varghese said they're awaiting guidance from the CDC or the Virginia Department of Health. His personal take is that it would be good to maintain 6-foot distance, only have asymptomatic participants, and try for a limited scale. The big question is costumes versus candy. Libby Garvey says there will be future town halls that will address this more. Another note briefly touched on the settlement with the Purple Lounge and the Virginia ABC. The county was not happy about the deal instead of the revocation of the liquor license. The county will do their best to hold the lounge accountable. As for evictions, there are efforts to delay, but the underlying issue is lack of income. $3 million has been provided for relief so far, and they're trying to get more while acknowledging the help from nonprofits. There were a couple of last remarks. Christian Dorsey noted that there has been some progress, but there is still much to be done, and he also wished everyone a happy Jewish New Year. Libby Garvey said she was appreciative of community help and compliance, and that there are other issues possible for town halls other than COVID. She again stressed face coverings plus the 6-foot distance. The next meeting is scheduled in 2 weeks. And that concludes this week's show. We'll be back next week with more news from Arlington and maybe some on-the-ground observations. Meanwhile, be careful, be safe, and be well.